the day after her son told her to sell the house. Dorothy Hanson called 3 contractors. She did not tell him. Mark had come over on a Saturday with good intentions, which was usually the most dangerous kind of visit. He sat at the kitchen table with his coffee and said, "Mom, this place is just getting to be too much. 35 years is a long time for a house. The maintenance is only going to get harder. And we'd all feel a lot better if you were somewhere newer. There are some really nice 55+ communities near us. You'd have neighbors your age. We could check on you easier." Dorothy looked out the kitchen window while he talked. Outside was the maple tree. Her husband Walter had planted the spring they moved in. 35 years old. It turned a color in October that she had never seen matched anywhere else. When Mark was 9, he had tried to build a fort in that tree, and fallen out and broken his left wrist. The scar was still there, pale and thin, on the inside of his arm. She said, "I'll think about it." After Mark left, she sat alone for a while. They both understood that "I'll think about it" meant no. But just in case he had missed it, he had left a glossy brochure on the table from a senior living development 20 minutes away. She picked it up and put it in the recycling bin. The next morning she called 3 contractors. She told each of them the same thing. She wanted the main bathroom redone, the kitchen counters replaced, and the living room floors refinished. She asked for itemized estimates. The first contractor came Tuesday. The second came Thursday. The third came Friday. She kept notes in a spiral notebook after each visit. When all 3 estimates were in, she laid them side by side on the kitchen table. $42,000, $51,000, $63,000. She went through the line items. The lowest bid used laminate countertop material. She had not asked for and did not want. The middle bid was straightforward. The highest bid had labor charges that did not match the square footage of the rooms. She called the middle contractor back. "I have a question about the countertop material. I want to understand exactly what I'm getting." He explained. "And if I wanted to go with hardwood floors instead of engineered, what would the difference be?" He calculated. $3,200 more. "Let's do that. But on the bathroom vanity, I'd like to go with the second option in your catalog instead of the first. It's $400 less and I think it suits the space better." The contractor said, "You've clearly done some research." Dorothy said, "I've lived in this house for 35 years. The work was scheduled for 3 weeks. During that time she stayed with her daughter Carol 2 towns over. She had packed her bags and texted Mark before she left. Starting renovations on the house Monday. Back in 3 weeks." Mark replied almost immediately, "Renovations? How much is that going to run?" She wrote back, "My savings, my house." He did not reply for a few hours. When he did, he said, "That money could cover a down payment on a nice place near us. Have you thought about it?" She read the message. She put the phone down on Carol's guest room nightstand. She did not reply. "If this were you, what would you have done?" On the 3rd day of the renovation, the contractor called. "Mrs. Hanson, we've opened up the bathroom walls, and there's more water damage to the moisture barrier than we expected. We're looking at an additional $4,500 to address it properly." Dorothy said, "Can I come see it today? It's a bit of a construction zone. You'd need to watch your step." "I'll watch my step. I'm coming." She drove over that afternoon. The contractor walked her through the stripped bathroom, pointing a flashlight at the exposed concrete block behind where the tile had been. "You see this darker area here? That's where the barrier has failed." Dorothy looked carefully. She had spent the previous evening reading about moisture barriers on a home improvement website. "Is that darker area wet? It looks compromised. Can you touch it and tell me if there's any actual moisture?" The contractor pressed his hand against the wall. He held it there. "It's dry," he said, slowly. "My understanding is that a failed moisture barrier shows up as actual moisture or mold. I'm not seeing either. Am I wrong?" A pause. "Let me take a closer look and get back to you." 2 days later he called. "Mrs. Hanson, I've reassessed. The existing barrier is actually in acceptable condition. We'll proceed with the original scope." Dorothy hung up and sat quietly for a moment. Then she smiled. The day she moved back in, she stood in the entry and looked through the house. The kitchen counters were white quartz, clean and solid. The living room had new hardwood floors that caught the afternoon. light and held it. The bathroom was tiled in a soft gray. She had chosen herself from a sample board after looking at 22 options. The fixtures were brushed nickel. Everything smelled of new materials and fresh paint. Through the kitchen window the maple tree stood where it had always stood. She went to the kitchen and filled a pot with water, and set it on the new countertop burner. First time boiling water in a newly remodeled kitchen. She listened to the sound of it and thought, I am staying here. I am going to watch that tree turn red every October for as long as I can. That evening Mark called. Mom, the work's done? Just moved back in. How does it look? Good. Come see it. He came 2 days later. He walked through slowly, looked at the kitchen, looked at the bathroom, ran his hand along the living room floor, stood at the kitchen window. The maple tree was in front of him. He looked at it for a while. Dorothy stood beside him. She said, remember when you fell out of that tree? He touched the scar on his left wrist without thinking. I remember. A quiet moment. He said, Mom, it looks really good. You did the right thing. She said nothing. You did the right thing was not bad to hear. But are you really going to stay here? Long term? Dorothy said, yes. Mark said, then I'll come more often. She said, I'd like that. They had dinner that night in the new kitchen. She made chicken soup on the new stove. Old recipe, new countertop. The soup tasted the way it always had. Mark said, this is great, Mom. Dorothy said, I know. There is an idea that at a certain age, decisions about your own home should be handed off to the people around you. But Dorothy Hanson compared 3 bids, selected her own materials, questioned an unexplained charge on site, and held her ground. When someone tried to add $4,500 to her bill without justification. She knew every corner of that house. She knew where the floor creaked, and where the light was good and where the tree turned red in October. Nobody knew it better than she did. New stories every week on this channel. Please subscribe so you never miss the next one.